Imagine this. It is 1981. The city of San Francisco is cold and indifferent. And somewhere deep inside a public subway bathroom, a grown man is lying on the floor. Not because he is drunk. Not because he is careless. But because he has nowhere else to go. His name is Chris Gardner. And curled up beside him, is his 1-year-old son. This man, sleeping on a bathroom floor with his baby, would one day build a $50 million financial empire. This is that story. Chris Gardner was not supposed to make it. He was born in 1954 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, into a world that had already decided what he was worth. His father was absent. His mother, Betty Jean, worked endlessly but could barely keep the lights on. As a child, Chris watched his mother be beaten by his stepfather. He watched her be taken away to a mental institution. He watched his family torn apart. And yet, she left him with something that could not be broken. She looked at him one day and said, "Chris, you can do and be anything you want to do and be." He never forgot those words. Even when everything around him told him otherwise. By the time Chris Gardner was in his early 30s, he had served in the Navy, gotten married, and moved to San Francisco with big dreams. He was selling portable bone density scanners, expensive medical equipment that barely anyone wanted to buy. His marriage was falling apart. The money had stopped coming in. And then, in a single month, everything collapsed at once. His wife left. Took their savings. Chris was evicted from his apartment. He had his young son, Christopher Jr., with him. And he had $17 in his pocket. $17. One child. No home. That was the night he ended up on the subway bathroom floor. He told his son it was an adventure. He made it into a game. But inside, he was terrified. But even at rock bottom, Chris Gardner kept his eyes open. One day, he spotted a man parking a red Ferrari outside a building in downtown San Francisco. Chris walked up to him, a complete stranger, and asked 2 questions. "What do you do?" And, "How do you do it?" The man was a stockbroker. Chris had no college degree. No financial background. No connections on Wall Street. But something fired inside him that day. He applied for an unpaid internship at Dean Witter Reynolds, one of the most prestigious brokerage firms in America. Out of hundreds of applicants, they picked him. The catch? The internship paid nothing. Not a single dollar. For 6 months, Chris Gardner had to somehow survive in San Francisco, with a child, with zero income. He made a plan. Every morning he dropped his son at daycare, which he somehow kept paying, rode the bus to work, and spent every second of every day making calls. More calls than any other intern. More calls than any other trainee. While other interns took lunch breaks, Chris made calls. While others went home at 5, Chris stayed till dark. The days were impossible. But Chris Gardner refused to use that word. On the worst nights, he and his son slept at Glide Memorial Church, a shelter in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. He would wake up, shower at the shelter, put on his only suit, drop off his son, and go to work. Nobody at the office knew he was homeless. He wore that secret like armor. 6 months passed. Out of the entire intern class, Chris Gardner was the only one offered a full-time position. He got the job. He moved out of the shelter. Found a small apartment for him and his son. And then, he went to work building something that no one could take from him. By 1987, Chris Gardner had become one of the top earners at Bear Stearns, one of the biggest investment banks on Wall Street. In 1987, he founded his own brokerage firm, Gardner Rich and Company. Starting with just $1,000. That firm grew into a multi-million-dollar operation. In 2006, Chris Gardner sold a minority stake of his company, for an amount reported at over $50 million. The man who once slept on a subway bathroom floor with his baby son had built an empire from nothing. His story became a book. And then a Hollywood film, The Pursuit of Happyness, starring Will Smith. Chris Gardner himself appeared in the final scene of that movie. Walking down the street. Free. Wealthy. Unbreakable. So what do we take from this? Chris Gardner did not have a plan that worked the first time. He did not have the right connections. Or the right degree. Or the right background. What he had, was the decision that his circumstances would not become his destiny. He once said, "The cavalry is not coming. You are going to have to save yourself." Whatever you are facing right now, whatever subway bathroom floor you are sitting on, metaphorically or literally. Chris Gardner's story is proof that the floor is not the end. It is just the beginning of the climb. If this story moved you, if it lit something inside you, subscribe to Spark Mind Tales. Because every week, we bring you real stories of real people who refuse to give up. Stories that don't just inspire, they transform. This is Spark Mind Tales. And your story is still being written.